This has been an incredible year so far in terms of new anime releases. While the summer has been much weaker than the spring lineup, next season looks to be packed with some interesting new shows. In today's video, I'll share my early impressions on one of them based on previews and what I've read so far. My plan is to hopefully make more videos like this as I continue to look into these upcoming anime. The first thing I decided to read a couple weeks ago is the manga adaptation of Our Dating Story, The Experienced You and the Inexperienced Me. Enji, the studio behind Trapped in a Dating Sim and Detective is Already Dead, is producing the anime, which is based on a set of light novels written by Makiko Nagaoka. This high school rom-com is centered around Ryuto Kashima, a social outcast who begins dating a popular girl named Runa Shirakawa after being forced to ask her out as a result of losing a game to his friends. The trailers for the show grabbed my attention as the female lead reminded me of Ai Hayasaka from Kaguya-sama, with how she wears the jacket around her waist at school and the blonde hair. Aside from the character design, I thought the premise for this show was unique, or at least I haven't seen one like it yet. I've noticed a few people online have compared this to the 2017 anime My First Girlfriend is a Gal, which I've never watched, so I can't speak as to how this stacks up or differs. What I can say upon finishing the first volume is that the story seems relatable despite how unrealistic a couple like this might be. Something else I've seen echoed many times is that the male protagonist looks generic and seems boring. I won't argue the validity of that criticism, but at the same time it works for the narrative that Nagaoka has created. If the character had a more striking personality and appearance, a lot of things wouldn't work, and I believe that you would lose much of Ryuto's relatability. The contrast between them in terms of looks, social status, interests, and such is an important element to this. Whereas Ryuto is average looking, gloomy, and not very sociable, Runa is beautiful, cheerful, friendly, and laid back. The differences in who they are is one factor that contributes to the disbelief he feels internally when they first get together. In the beginning, Ryuto worries about the authenticity of their relationship and the fear of rejection that lingers within him due to something that happened in his past. He's a self-proclaimed background character that lacks self-confidence. At one point early on, he gets Runa to agree to keep the fact they're going out a secret from everyone except a few friends due to all the attention he was getting whenever they spoke to each other at school. I hated that he did this at first, as it was a dumb, selfish decision. All because he can't handle folks looking his way, Runa has to go the extra mile to hide who she's seeing. The Angel Next Door, Spoils Me Rotten did this kind of crap where the main couple hid their relationship for a while, and I freaking couldn't stand it then either. Ryuto should have known this sort of thing was gonna happen considering how attractive and popular she is. I feel like that sort of thing would come with the territory. Ryuto is quite insecure at the start, and as I read this particular part, I couldn't help but think that he needs to man up. Luckily, the fact that they're a couple isn't kept hidden for too long, and the reveal is handled very well. Ryuto grows a bit by the end of the volume and rises to the occasion. In general, I appreciate how realistic the reactions are to the idea of the pair being together, especially from his friends who initially believe Runa's just screwing with him. Unfortunately, the interactions between the two of them weren't very engaging early on in the story, so I was struggling to keep my attention on this at first. Ryuto's stale reaction to Runa at certain points, coupled with the average and somewhat repetitive dialogue of the fan translation, didn't exactly make for a gripping read initially. As common with many scanlations, there were some lines that could have been written better, and a couple that contradict something that was previously said. Of course, a great script and good voice acting might make the early moments of this mismatched couple more enjoyable in the anime. By the same token, many of the humorous bits that I didn't find amusing could be more effective with a production behind it. Anyway, things don't pick up until about midway through the third chapter, where Ryuto and Runa start to open up to each other. I like that the author had Ryuto speak up about what happened to him in the past early in the story, rather than have it potentially cause an issue between them later on. The narrative gets more interesting heading into chapter 4 with the introduction of transfer student Maria Kurose. I won't say much about this character to avoid spoilers, but I thought that she was used well at the end of the volume. At first, I was disappointed that Maria wasn't a bigger focus of that chapter, which is instead centered on Ryuto and Runa going on a date for her birthday. The moments between between them were way more entertaining here than at the beginning of the story, which featured some pretty typical reactions from Ryuto when they were first getting together. One example of this is partially shown in the trailer, where Runa begins taking off her clothes as he starts freaking out about them having sex. His behavior during the bedroom scene is so common with a lot of male leads that it's cliche at this point. I get that from his perspective she's moving too fast, given that they barely know each other, but it would be nice to see a character not react so immaturely about the proposition of having sex for once. Of course, Ryuto decides not to get intimate with Runa as he realizes that her previous boyfriends were just after her body. He doesn't want to rush things and be selfish like they were. At the heart of their relationship is the selflessness they display toward one another, which fills them both with happiness. They might not be the most enjoyable couple to make their debut this year, but I think the foundation on which this romance is built on is quite sturdy. While Ryuto is far from the most compelling male lead, Runa is definitely an appealing gal character. She's much different from other female love interests in regards to her standards and how she thinks about relationships. Based on what I've read so far and seen from the preview trailers, I'm not expecting this one to light the world on fire or anything. This seems like this could be a solid rom-com series with a decent production. Given what I've seen from the studio in the past, I'm not expecting much from NG. While I don't think the art is as good as the manga or light novel, I do prefer Maria and Ijishi's designs over those. Our dating story is set to release sometime this October. No word yet what streaming platform it will be available on, but I'm hoping it's on Crunchyroll so that it could potentially get an English dub quickly. Let me know in the comment section below whether this show sounds interesting to you, and as always, thanks for watching.